Chairs No Waiting, episode number 806, Andy and Opie, Housekeepers. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Christmas is coming quick, guys. I know it's not even Halloween. Oh, speaking of Halloween, why don't you head over there and check out the Mayberry Axes Pizza Cutters. That's right, you can get a pizza cutter. It looks like an axe. Oh, and you might as well get an Old Man Rimshaw print to go with the axe. You got to have that. If you want artwork, you could also get a Barney Fife photo lithograph, or maybe a Gomer Pye one. Head over to weaversdepartmentstore.com and check it out. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. The executive producer of episode number 806 are the attendees of the Mayberry Meetup 2024. Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Newsome, the host of Two Chairs No Waiting. And as I always say, it is great to be talking with you about the Andy Griffith Show and spending some time in Mayberry. We've been going over episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. We made it all the way up to the 23rd one. What is this? It's nearly October. It is October by the time you're hearing this. And I've made it to episode 23. So I probably will be able to finish season 1 in 2024. Yay. All right. This week we just got back from Mayberry Days. We're probably going to be doing a report next week on Mayberry Days because it's going to take me a little while to put together some information and everything. But I want to put a call out right now to all of you who were at Mayberry Days to send me a voicemail. You can send a voicemail at 888-684-8415. And you can rewind that if you need to hear the number. Or you can email me at floyd@mayberry.com. You can record on your phone, your cell phone, and send the recording to me. That would work as well. Whatever's easy for you, or even a video. If you want to send a video of yourself telling me information about your experience at Mayberry Days 2024, because it was definitely an experience. We had a hurricane. You know, Helen, that book author, Helene, she came to town and messed up things there all over North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Woo, it was rough. But it didn't dampen our spirits for Mayberry Day. So I would love to hear your reports about it. And so send them to me if you can by Saturday. So I'll have Sunday and Monday to put things together for the show. If you could do that, that would be awesome. All right. So we're going to be talking, as I said, tonight, though, about Andy and Opie, Housekeepers. Y'all know that episode. We'll follow that up with some trivia from Paul Mulik, so stick around for that. So the episode, if you don't remember what it's about, in this particular episode, Aunt Bee has to leave for Mount Pilot after her cousin Edgar calls to tell her that Maud is ill. Oh, she's taken ill. So within hours, the Taylor home was just destroyed. So evidently, Andy and Opie, Anyway, it was a pigsty, and Andy and Opie basically end up enlisting Aunt Bee's friend Bertha to get everything back in order before she gets home. But then they realize, it's going to hurt her feelings. Can't do that. They mess it up, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. All right. So we'll go into it in some depth, but that's basically what happens in that episode. So let's pull up the pictures so we can actually talk about this. So in this episode, it starts off with Aunt Bee coming down the stairs and going into the living room. Now this is, I believe it may be one of our odd facts we're going to talk about in a little while, but this is the only time we ever see the Taylor home looking like a tornado had passed through. It is a sight to behold, no doubt, where Aunt Bee is trying to clean up the house and Andy and Opie are doing everything they can. This is as the episode begins, to just have papers everywhere. Even Andy's hat, his sheriff hat, is sitting on a table. When was he wearing that? He never wears that thing. Malcolm had to make him wear it. So it was even sitting around. So I don't know what had been going on in the Taylor home that allowed it to get into the state it was in before Aunt Bee leaves. But as she's getting on to Opie about if he doesn't want to eat his peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I believe it was, not to bring it back down to the kitchen and not to stick it under his pillow. And he said, oh, that's where it was. so, so this is what she's dealing with between Andy and Opie. But then she gets that phone call that we just mentioned. And in that phone call, she finds out that her cousin has taken ill. So she has to go over to Mount Pilot to help take care of her sick cousin. And you can see how worried they are for Edgar. Edgar is who calls her, and Maud is not well. So of course she packs up and heads over the next day. She's going over the next day, but boy, she's leaving the house a wreck because the kitchen at this point is not clean, because she has made breakfast and everything for Andy. And Andy said, no, we'll take care of that. She cleaned up in the meantime the living room, but she gets dressed and heads on out and heads to Mount Pilot. It's not far, so I don't know who picked her up. Maybe somebody told her, but she leaves the house, and Andy and Opie just wave at her and everything as she leaves. And then they head back into the house to clean up the kitchen, and they're putting on their aprons. And Opie, at this point, was drying things. I don't know if you guys remember that. Basically, he would dry the plates and stuff before he put them back in the hutch by just waving them around. He figured that was drying them enough. And Andy got on to him for that. He should dry them off. So then he started using the sleeve of his shirt to just dry them off in that fashion. So, and of course, eventually he drops one. He drops one of them, and Andy gets on to him. And he asks him at least if he's going to drop it before he washes it. You remember that line. There are so many great lines and great things that happen in this episode. So it's well worth another watch if you haven't watched it in a while. Definitely encourage you to go and check it out. Anyway, so that happens. Andy gets a phone call, and so he sends Opie up to start working on his room and clean it up, because it's a mess as well. So he gets up there and starts cleaning it up, and his friend comes by, and that's his friend Jimmy. I don't know if you remember him. His little boy comes in while Opie is trying to clean up his room, which, by the way, Opie found another, if I remember right, he found at some point he finds another sandwich under his pillow. But Jimmy comes in and comes up to start trying to help Opie. And I don't know why I've never thought about this, but Opie actually stands up because he's got the blankets and stuff to get onto the bed. He's so little, he has to get under them and get in them and get them onto the bed. He's basically a ghost, and I'd never thought about that, especially for Halloween. There's your Mayberry costume right there with a sheet on. You're basically Opie when he was cleaning up his room. There you go. I'm thinking Halloween because of the time of the year it is, I guess. But he and Jimmy get the stuff on the bed. But then, of course, as little boys do, they eventually just start wrestling and jumping up and down on the bed. So, their assistance in cleaning, I don't know if it was actually all it was cut up to be, so. And Andy's there as they're cleaning up the next day or whatever day this is. Aunt B is going to be coming home pretty soon. So the house again looks like a demolition area. It looks like Opie's been building a tent in the den near the fireplace. He even got a flag on his tent. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's probably all kinds of Easter eggs to look for in some of these shots that we should be looking to see if we can see what all is in the floor and around. There's everything from bow and arrows, some kind of a toy gun. There's clothes everywhere. Anyway, they begin to clean up the house because they realize, when Aunt B gets back, it's going to be this terrible mess. They eventually realize they need to clean it up, but not right now. Let's just wait just a little while. So Opie likes that idea, but then Aunt B calls. She's coming back. Oh, she's coming back. So now the race is on, and they begin to clean up the house. They work hard. They clean, and they finally get it all cleaned up and are sitting on the couch. This is a shot you've seen many times in screen captures with Andy leaned back with his arms behind his head and Opie mimicking his father in that shot. And they come to realize that, Aunt B won't feel useful if they don't have some mess for her to clean up. So Opie is given permission to go up and start messing up his room again. Andy gets plates out in the kitchen and starts pouring stuff all over them. If you remember, ketchup or something is what he pours all over. And he was messing up all the plates, and just, again, they mess up the house just as almost as bad as it was when they started. And they decided that messing up was a lot easier than cleaning up. And as they're leaving, they run into Aunt B's friend, Bertha, in this case is her name, Bertha Edwards. They run into her as they're leaving to go and pick up Aunt B. Now, I think Aunt B was coming in on the bus, so I guess they were waiting on her, because somebody mentioned before that, this is a pretty good sized house. It's not that small. And when she walks in, Bertha walks in and sees this mess in here, she realizes that Aunt B is coming home to this. And so, being the good friend that she is, she lives right next door, she realizes that maybe she should clean it up. So she begins to clean up the house. We didn't see her, but that's what she does, because when Andy and Opie get home with Aunt B, they're expecting her to walk in and see how clean, or how messed up everything is, and be happy to be home and be feeling useful. And then she walks in the door and starts to see that everything is a spick and span. Andy and Opie are confused. They don't understand what happened. She looks in the kitchen. It's pristine. It's never been dirty. I mean, it's so clean. And Andy doesn't know what's happening, but he sends Opie running upstairs to go and mess up his room, while Aunt B is looking sad that they don't need her. Maybe they didn't even need her. And she starts to basically getting real upset and everything. But then they hear Opie up there knocking things around, and Andy's like, well, I'm sure it's nothing. He may just be picking up the room a little bit, because we didn't quite get everything cleaned up. And she goes upstairs and finds Opie at that point putting an apple under his pillow, but she thinks he is taking it out to try to clean it up. And she is now happy, because she sees, oh my goodness, you do need me, basically, is where this comes from. It's very similar to Malcolm Merriweather when he was taking care of everything and Aunt B didn't feel useful. So that's real similar to that. And so while she's up there in Opie's room, Andy is downstairs messing up the kitchen, and she hears it eventually and runs downstairs and realizes, according to her, so you didn't have time to clean up everything. So you were cleaning up down here while Opie was finishing up there. And so now she's saying, how it's difficult, and you're right, Aunt B, it's hard to keep a house clean like this. And she basically shoos Andy and Opie out of the room. They join hands with one another to indicate how good a job they had done making her feel better. The epilogue of this particular episode is Andy and Aunt B are sitting on the couch, and she's sewing in some way, and Andy's reading the newspaper, and Bertha comes in to welcome B home, and Bertha asks B how she found the house, and she basically says to Aunt B says to Bertha, well, it was like it had not even seen a dust mop since I'd been gone, not a duster or a dust mop. It was terrible. It was frightful. Well, Bertha, I ought to call her Clara, because then you'll know who she is. Bertha starts looking like she's very upset and walks out, and Aunt B's like, well, what did I say? Of course, in the meantime, Andy had realized what had happened, and that is the end of that episode. What a great episode it was. Andy, again, showing his love for his aunt and just caring for her enough to try to make her feel as useful as possible, and not to make her feel like they don't need her, because they did. They needed her. Especially, and of course, Opie, she needs Opie because she don't know how to fish or any of that kind of stuff, catch frogs. She don't know how to do any of that stuff. Anyway, great episode. I love this episode. So here's some odd facts for you. All right. This is the very first episode where we actually meet Clara, or Hope Summers. This is Hope Summers' first episode. She appears as Aunt B's friend. In this episode, it's Bertha Edwards, is what her name is in this episode. She played Bertha Edwards in this episode. Then she was Clara Johnson. And finally, she ended up being Clara Edwards. So the theory I have, because it's the same character, it's the same person, that Bertha Edwards, Bertha, I think, is a nickname. That's just a nickname Aunt B uses for Clara. I mean, they've known each other. They've known each other forever. Evidently they're best friends, and so they have a nickname for each other. And so I believe that was just a nickname that they used. But I mean, I could be wrong, but that's my excuse for them having the wrong name over and over like that. That would be why you'd have it. And so it's Bertha Edwards. So she was married, right? But you'll remember Clara Johnson, that she was Clara Johnson, then Clara Edwards again. So I think maybe Edwards was her. I don't know. One of you guys have to check my math on this, but it was either her maiden or her married name, and then she went back to the other. So she was Johnson or Edwards. So Mr. Johnson was the one who liked his pickles, right, in the pickle story. And so maybe Edwards was her maiden name, and she went back to Edwards at some point. Let's go with that one, because later she played Clara Edwards. Now, she did also play a character named Miss Bedloe in one episode, so I've got nothing for that one. I've got no way to justify that one. Let's see here. This is interesting too. According to the script for this episode, Bertha's last name was going to be Bascom, but it was never used on camera, so it was never used. It's not canon, but in the script, it was going to be Bascom. Since it wasn't filmed, we say canon. It's not official, but it is in the script. So there's your little piece of trivia. Mayberry's sister city, Mount Pilot, is first mentioned in this episode. This is the only time in the entire run of the show, I mentioned this early, that we ever see the Taylor house messy. Never see it like that. It's never. I mean, at the very beginning of the episode, oh my goodness, what a mess Opie and Andy have made in the house. It is a mess. But this is it was the only time we ever saw the house messy like this. Don Knotts does not appear in this episode, but he is credited. Don, I think I've mentioned this before, he asked to be written out of episodes, a certain number of episodes per season, because doing Barney was just so, it wore on him so much. It was a lot of work for him. It was took a lot of energy from him. Let's see. So when Andy and Barney are leaving to go pick up Aunt B at the end of the episode, and they meet Miss Edwards out on the porch, they say Miss Edwards, Bertha, wishes them good morning. Okay, but earlier when Aunt B had called Andy to tell him she was coming in, she had said she's coming in on the afternoon bus. So that's a little check me to make sure I'm right on that. Watch it and let me know if I'm wrong. But that's what they said. So there's a little bit of a trivia thing for you there. Let's see, the French doors that you can see in the Taylor's living room. There's French doors to the if you're looking at the fireplace, it would be to the left of the fireplace. There are French doors over there, and those disappear at some point during the series, and so you never see them again. Okay, in later seasons, you don't see those doors anymore. But there's doors just to the left of the fireplace, and you can see them clearly when Aunt B at the very beginning of the episode is walking through the living room. When Aunt B calls from Mount Pilot, she is sitting in a room with wallpaper in it that looks very similar to the wallpaper in the Taylor home. So something else for you to look for to see if you agree with that. But the wallpaper looks very similar to the Taylor home. So it is possible they just sat in a corner of the house there, and that's how they filmed this. That is a possibility that's how it happened. Okay, and this was another thing that was kind of interesting for this. It kind of relates in this episode. It demonstrates how telephone technology has changed so much since the '60s. Aunt B calls home from Mount Pilot, and it was long distance, and Mount Pilot's only 12 miles from Mayberry, right? I remember when that was the case, when there were places that were within 10 miles of you, it was long distance. And, people now, especially young people, they all have cell phones. There is no long distance. They don't even know what that means. You remember we used to have to wait until after 8 p.m. or after 9 p.m. I can't remember, depending on where you lived in the time zone. Then the rates would go down. So then you could call people that lived further away. Because if they lived further away, it cost you more money. It was long distance. So if you didn't know what that meant, some of you are young enough that you may not know that. Many of us are old enough to remember. I don't want to call anybody out on this, but I think based on who I know listens to the podcast, you guys will remember that. But it was only 12 miles to Mount Pilot, but it was long distance from Mayberry to call them from there. So I just think that's really cool. During the opening scene in the living room of the living room shots, there's a bottle that can be seen on the side table beside Andy. I'm going to try, if you're watching the episode, I'm going to try to zoom in on this so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's right beside Andy is a bottle that you can definitely see sitting on the table right beside him. Well, it disappears. It comes and goes throughout that particular episode. As they move around, you can see the table again just a few minutes later, and the table no longer has the bottle sitting on it. So it disappeared. So something to watch for. A little bit more information for you. So there's the information that you'll find out on the internet is incorrect. When Aunt B comes home and catches Opie putting the apple under his pillow, if you look around on the internet, they're going to tell you that apple did not have a bite taken out of it when Aunt B took it away from Opie. But that is not true, because she took it away from him, and you can clearly see the bite from the apple. Because what they said, when you're in Opie's room, there was no bite from the apple, but then later there was a bite from the apple. That is incorrect. You can clearly see the bite from the apple, even in Opie's room. So if somebody tries to tell you that, I'm going to try to correct that information online so you guys can help me for that as well. And that is all of the odd facts known by few that we have out there. So I will correct that information, because some of that I grabbed and pulled from the website at mayberry.info. If you guys have never seen that, that is where I'm keeping all this information. And that information about the apple is in there. And so it will not be in about 10 minutes. It'll be gone. So that'll be fixed by the time you guys actually hear this episode, if you're not here for the live show. So if you were here for the live show, you'd be able to join us in just a second as we're about to play Mayberry Trivia. Is everybody ready for that? So I'm going to get us some background music going for our background trivia music. So if you guys are ready, here we go. These are questions from Paul Mulik. And if you were here on Monday nights at 7 p.m., you could play with us live in the chat room, because we have chat rooms going on. I'm going to pull the chat rooms up where you can kind of see them. There they are. If you're watching the video version, you can see them. So the questions, I'm going to cover them back up because I don't want everybody to see the answers. Here we go. Question number 1 for this week. This trivia by Paul Mulik is all related to early bird. So last week we did the first 5 questions. Tonight we're going to do the other 5. Early bird is the name of it. Okay, so here we go. So as you might guess, all the answers will be related to a bird. I feel like $20,000 pyramid here, or $100,000 pyramid. How old am I? 20,000. All right, number 1. What was the name of Opie's pet parakeet? What was the name of Opie's pet parakeet? All right, so folks are in our chat room. They're trying to answer the question. I'm seeing the correct answer popping in there. Do you know the answer? The answer It's from the new housekeeper, if that's helpful. Opie's pet parakeet's name was Dickie. Dickie. All right. Did you get it? These are pretty fun. We'll play the Mayberry Days trivia in the next few weeks as well, guys. It was a little tough. There's one question that I was told may be incorrect. There will be investigation into the correctness. I've got to just reach out to make sure I know which question it was. Question number 2. Andy once tied a criminal to a tree only to have Barney and Gomer set him free. What kind of birds did the escapee claim to be hunting? Okay. Andy once tied a criminal up to a tree only to have Barney and Gomer set him free. What kind of birds did the escapee claim to have been hunting? All right. All right. So I'm giving you a chance to answer, but here's a hint for you. The episode would be Andy's Vacation. I think you probably had figured that part out, or at least you realized it was the one where he was out in the woods and Barney and Gomer are supposed to be taking care of Mayberry. So what did he say he had been hunting? The answer? Quail. Quail. Our chat room is squawking with quails. So you can join us with our chat room on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern at live.twochairsnowaiting.com is our main chat room. You can join in with all the fun. There's 42 people in there right now. All right, question number 3 of 5. Question number 3, and this is a hard one. This is a hard one. Okay, you ready? This one is pretty hard. Aunt Bee once cooked a duck in an attempt to impress what visitor? Aunt Bee once cooked a duck in an attempt to impress what visitor? All right, let's see. I'm not seeing everybody jumping in quite as quick. All right, we got to know his name. Yeah, some people in the chat room are getting his description, but we got to get his name. Okay, here I'll help you with here's the hint. It's from the episode Opie Steps Up in Class, if that helps. Oh, somebody got it right. Last name, I'll give you that for a last name. Here's the answer, guys. Aunt Bee once cooked a duck in an attempt to impress what visitor? The answer, a lot of people were saying the rich kid, and that is correct, but that's not good enough to get it right. I saw 2 people in our chat room. The name is Billy Hollander. Billy Hollander is his name. I saw at least Emmett Clark in our chat room got the whole name, and Lydia Crosswaith got Hollander. So I'm giving them both credit. Good job in our chat room. Richie Rich is not correct, as some people had said in the chat room. Meatloaf Boy. No, that's not. That was not right either. But Billy Hollander is the correct answer. That was a little hard. All right, that was 3. Number 3. All right, number 4. According to Gomer, who talks just like a jaybird? According to Gomer, who talks just like a jaybird? Oh, I don't know if I'd have got this, but it's a good answer. The hint for you, if you don't know, is from Gomer the house guest. So Gomer the house guest, when he was staying there, he's telling stories and everything. Who did Gomer say talks just like a jaybird? The answer, and folks are getting it. You got to have the last name. Let's see who got that. Leonard Blush got it right. Lydia got it right. All right. So folks in our chat room are getting it. I don't know if I'd have got it or not. The answer is Birdie Blush. Birdie Blush is his name. Birdie Blush. Good job. A lot of folks in the chat room are getting it. Good job. If you just got Blush, you get it right too. It's Blush. It's not Leonard Blush though. I wonder if he's related. Huh. There was always that bird singing for Leonard Blush sang, didn't it? Is that not right? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? The Masked Singer should know that. So Leonard Blush was Birdie. That's Leonard Blush. Yeah, it's Birdie Blush. Yeah, that's his name. Huh. Well, something to figure out, guys. All right, our final question, worth 2 points, by the way. And this is a hard one. but it's worth 2 points if you can get them. So here we go. What Mayberryite once had a pet canary, and what was the canary's name? Ooh. What Mayberry citizen, Mayberryite, once had a pet canary, and what was the canary's name? Okay, just as a note, Opie's bird was not a canary. Just knocking that out so you don't guess that. Okay. It was a parakeet, not a canary. All right, here we go. This is from the episode Goodbye Dolly. That's a color episode. That's what makes these hard. All right. What Mayberryite had a pet canary? The answer to that part is Goober. Goober had a pet canary, and the canary's name was Louise. Louise was her name. Louise. I don't see anybody in the chat room that got that. Did anybody get that in the chat room? Did you get it out there? I didn't get it. I would not have known this. So, yeah. So all right. So maybe it looks like Emmett may have gotten it. Oh no, he says he didn't remember that one. So I don't know. Maybe he did. So anyway, I didn't get it either. So I didn't get any points for that. So out of a possible 6 points, how did you do? You had possibility of getting 6 points. That last question was worth 2. So I personally did not get that answer, but I hope you had fun trying to. Mayberry Days, we had a lot of fun at the Mayberry Days trivia contest. That was a lot of fun. So we had fun there, and those trivia questions were harder. So we will be playing those in coming weeks. So, but it'll be a little while before we get to those. All right, guys, that is all I have for us tonight, I believe. And, I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself. It's always fun to be here. Again, I want to throw this back out to you to remind you, next week, hopefully we'll be doing our roundup report from Mayberry Days 2024. It's the 35th Mayberry Days, by the way. And my 32nd as Floyd the Barber. Oh, my goodness. I don't like to say that out loud like that. But if you would send in your reports, I would appreciate it if you could record it and say it in your own voice, or maybe even video it if you'd like to. And you can email it to me if it's an MP3 file or something. You could record it on your phone and send me an email with it, or Dropbox it somewhere, or if you've got those capabilities, and I'll come and pull it. I would ask that you try to get it in to me by Saturday. If you're listening to this now, that would be the 5th of October. Okay, so that'd be Saturday, the 5th of October. That way I would be able to get everything done before the show is recorded next Monday night. So, folks, please take some time, if you would. Let me hear a report from you. I think everybody would love to hear your reports, because your points of view of Mayberry Days is always way different than mine. Because I'm busy. I'm doing something, and you guys are getting to just run around and do and have fun. We had some great people in the parade. We had all kinds of great stuff that happened at Mayberry Days. Always do. The weather did not dampen the spirits of the people that were able to make it to Mount Airy and attend the event. We had a wonderful time, and I am looking forward to hearing what you think about it, because I had a great time. All right, guys, that is all I have for us tonight. So let's get this thing get going here. I'd love to hear from you. You can give me a call at 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com, or just head over to twochairsnowaiting.com, and there's all kinds of information about how to contact me right there on the website. I would love to hear from you. It is always so fun to hear back from you, because you hear from me every week. I had some people come up to me during the Mayberry Days weekend saying they listened to the podcast all their whole drive to Mayberry Days. So thank you for that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on Two Chairs. Y'all have a great evening.